Hi, and welcome back. It's so good to see you again. Today I want to mention something that may not seem to be the most upbeat or pleasant. It's grief. Many of us think of grief as something that we experience when a loved one has died, someone close to us has passed on, and that's what we call grief. Actually, grief is something that happens on almost a daily basis, but in small ways. Grief is the emotion that we feel when we experience a loss. Could be loss of, right now, during our global crisis, the global pandemic, we are experiencing a huge grief. People have feelings around loss of job, loss of health, loss of financial security, loss of the ability to connect with family and friends, loss of movement, loss of plans, all kinds of losses. And the feeling that we are experiencing in humanity is grief. Now, grief is not something that has a cookie cutter response to a situation, and so we know this is grief, and then from grief then we move on to a solution, which is acceptance and moving on beyond grief. It just doesn't work that way. We all grieve differently. Grief is individual, and no two people grieve exactly the same, within the same family, within the same community. Comparing grief person to person is not a fair thing to do. The way I grieve is not anywhere like or anything like my next door neighbor or a family member. We all grieve differently. So what do we do with this feeling? Well, the first thing is to know that what we are experiencing is grief. Grief has an end. It had a beginning. We are in the middle of it, and it has an end. But what do? Well, we allow it. We acknowledge it, and then we allow it. Allow ourselves to grieve. Be self-compassionate. Be compassionate toward others that are grieving around us. But to know this is grief. This is real. It's a real emotion. Now, we may gloss over it and say, oh, I'm not grieving. Everything's okay. Things are just the same. Yes, maybe I can't do exactly what I want to do. But sometimes we just feel out of sorts. And what is that? We're feeling grief. So what to do? Acknowledge it and say, yeah, this is grief. And I'm feeling it, and I'm feeling it deeply. But for me, I can work through it in this way or that way. People work through their grief in different ways. So many people say, oh, well, enjoy the time that you're home and that you have so much time to clean out a closet or reorganize something or power wash the patio or be productive. Well, that may not be everybody's response. Sometimes response to grief is just to sit and cry. Sometimes it's to do nothing for a day or two. But acknowledging the grief, giving it a name, dealing with it in our own way, not judging ourselves, not comparing ourselves one to another, it will have an end. Our grief will have an end. And we know that to be true. So be kind to yourself. Show some self-compassion for yourself and compassion for others. And just remember that I honor the place in you, which is the same as the place in me, grieving or not. And when we're both in that place, we are one, traveling through life's journey and transition together. And I would invite you to subscribe to my videos so that we can have some more chats like this. Also follow me on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know what you're thinking and how you're feeling right now. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye.